A talk to the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
Hi, Kev. I took one for the team today and watched that entire Meghan Markle interview with Fortune, if you're curious for a recap.
I think we've got a bit of it, but why don't you tell us what it was all about first? What was the reason for her gracing us with her words of wisdom?
Well, I mean, is it ever really words of wisdom? This was...
I was being facetious.
Yeah. Somehow Meghan was invited to Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit. This is the work of great PR, a great publicist, and this is also the work and this is also the result of print media being dead and being more interested in clickbait than in somebody's actual skills or credibility.
And who was she? Was this next level influencer thing? Is that what this was? Yeah. And was it Kamala Harris was there as well? Am I right?
Yeah, they're not on the stage together, though. Meghan is one-on-one in an interview, but this is, yes, it's there. This is what Meghan's segment was called Next Level Influence, and they were supposed to talk about how Meghan planned to build a successful, long-lasting business empire. And one of the ways they teased it was how Meghan was going to be talking about navigating entrepreneurship in the public eye and building a brand that will endure. Also, one of the lines was that the challenges she might face as a highly scrutinized founder and how she plans to leverage her significant influence to build this brand. But we didn't get much of that.
Didn't we? What did she talk about then? We're going to play a bit in a minute, but I'm enjoying your rendition of what happened. What did she talk about?
Well, within the first 5 seconds, she takes a dig at the British royal family because the host says, yes. The host says, take me back to when you leave England. And she says, oh, that was just about nesting and healing. I mean, I think a lot of times I do think she's responding to us, because how many times have you and I talked and we discussed that she had the same amount of time stuck in her home that we did. There was plenty of time to strategize what her next steps were. So this messy execution of absolutely everything, there's absolutely no excuse for it.
That was about nesting. What's nesting? What does she mean?
Having babies, hanging out with her kids in Birkenstocks, she says. Yeah. But it was the healing. That's where she's taking that dig at the British royal family.
She's got so many wounds about being in racist Britain with a racist royal family, yeah.
That gave her the Duchess title she's using on the stage right there. And then she talks about how the host goes out of her way to say Meghan is such a good mom because in the last 2 weeks, as she's been globetrotting, she took one day to go home and see her kids. And Meghan pauses for applause because she wants she's so proud of herself. She's like, that's what it's all about, right? You've been home one day out of the last 2 weeks, and you think that everybody should be fawning over you for that. You don't need to be in New York hobnobbing right now. This is literally an ego trip. She says, I thought this was interesting, that making jam was her passion project that she turned into a business. Now that conflicts with her previous story at the Time 100 event, where she says Netflix initiated her jam business, that this was their idea, that they came to the conclusion that this is the path for her. She talks about it as if this was, God came down and told her, you're making such good jam, you should pursue this. So that was a shift, but that's always fun when it comes to Meghan Markle's version of events. They're always changing. Yeah. Her advice to the room of females was learn to give yourself the grace to pivot, which, by the way, she's pivoting often, so hard lately that my insurance company is going to call her the whiplash is unacceptable. We get it, girl. You're pivoting, constantly pivoting. Also, she mentioned beauty and fashion around the pivot talk. So this is something you and I've talked about on Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Yeah. I think she's going into makeup. Maybe she's going into fashion. I think she's going into makeup. We'll have to see.
That's a really interesting quote. May God give you the grace to pivot. In other words, that's excusing herself for constantly changing her mind about what exactly she wants to do with her strange life. Before we play this clip, is she still in New York, or has she returned to LA now?
She's on. I imagine she's on her way back, or she's in the process of
But this was in
back.
New York, yeah.
Today, yes.
Let's have a quick look at what happened today.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Washington D.C. Washington D.C.
Right. So she was in New York for the weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then she went to Washington D.C. for this. So let's have a look.
When I was on Suits, that was my last time really in a position with a very large team. We had a crew of 200 people. And I worked on the show for 7 years, and I loved the crew. I loved that experience and the culture that's on set as well. And so I think being able to now have my own business, it's very different than being on set. And even the set for With Love Meghan, that's a crew of 80 people. It's still a very large crew. But for my business, I've been very decisive about having a lean team. I think you want to have a great soundboard of people that are with you and with varied points of view. You want someone who's going to push back. You want someone who's going to be so creative and savvy in a space that might not be my skill set. So I love creating that culture, having that camaraderie with my team, and playing and being curious. Constantly just pushing the envelope to ask the questions of how can we show up in a way that truly indicates that we are putting care into every detail.
There's old Meghan once again, English as a second language. What on earth is she talking about? You can never make head nor tail of it, can you, Kinsey?
No, but, you know, she says Suits was her last time in a very large team, 200 people. The royal family employs over 1,000 people. You just weren't a team player. Yeah. You just weren't a team player. Get over yourself. And that last line, how can we show up in a way that truly indicates that we are putting care into every detail? Well, I would suggest not recording yourself a stone's throw away from where your mother-in-law died, because that isn't really an example of putting that extra care into anything, your actions, whatever. She intentionally compares herself to the Obamas when describing her demotion from Netflix. They ask what happened with Netflix, tell us about this new deal. And she's like, oh, well, it's just like President Obama's, because she's trying to...
You mean that they got sacked as well? Yeah.
She's trying to distract from the fact that she got a demotion, and she tries to play it off as a benefit that she can take her content elsewhere. Well, where is it? Because you've had plenty of time to shop it around, and there are no whispers about any Archwell projects going anywhere else. She says the business will, of course, go on longer than a series. She knows something we don't. That's my initial thought when she says that. And then when asked about season 3 from the host, she pivots.
Yeah,
and, you know,
she's got the grace to pivot, right? Yeah,
she has the grace to pivot, and she starts talking animatedly about the Christmas special.
Oh God!
Basically distracting from the fact that there is no season 3. I think that was a tell that there is no season 3. And instead of saying, "Well, we've decided," you know, because she says the brand will go on beyond the show, and then when she's asked specifically about a 3rd season, she jumps into, "Oh, well, there's a Christmas special. Oh, it's so," and then her body language completely changes. Like she moves in her seat. Like that was a tell to me that we do not have season 3 to look forward to. And then she also distracts.
To not look forward to.
Yeah. And then she also distracts by going into the idea of micro content. She goes into this asked explanation about how she thinks that perhaps she could take this show and make it into short form content because of that. That's where the world's going.
Instagram posts, in other words.
Yes. And friendly
here
reminder.
I am boiling an egg. You know,
friendly
that's
reminder.
It,
exactly. And I've said from the get-go, from the launch of this show, that this entire show, 40 minutes, could be a 60-second TikTok video. And Afia Hagen, Meghan Markle's groom of the stool, said I was ridiculous on Good Morning Britain. And here's Meghan Markle admitting that, you know, perhaps that's the way, that's the direction they should go. Now, she said she refuses. They asked her about negative feedback and how does she decipher what's genuine feedback that could help her shape her brand versus what's just nasties, nasty Nancy's. And she says that she again distracts from that very specific question to say that she shuts comments off on her Instagram for the sake of her fans,
Well,
so that they don't have to see the negativity. Meghan Markle, if you're watching, let me tell you, girl, they're always looking for a fight. They're in the comments right now of this video.
Yeah.
These people do not want to avoid drama. They live for it. So
Yeah,
the fact that she
exactly.
tries to push that off on them, she said she would be open to creating a magazine or a cookbook. I mean, she'd be open to open a Walmart store. I mean, cut the ribbon at a Walmart store. Obviously, she's open to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then she says, this is so weird, Kev. I wish we would have clipped this. The host says, I'm curious, now that you have numerous businesses and ventures under your belt, and you're obviously still in the thick of it, what have you learned about yourself as a leader and as a CEO? Meghan moans and then says, thank you. Like, it's like, thanks for what? For playing into this whole fake brand that I've built?
Yeah.
Like, why are you moaning and saying thank you? Like, and then she doesn't give a straight up response, but it's just that moan and thank you where it's almost like she's just so grateful to have somebody playing along with this shtick, that this woman has accomplished anything in the last 5 years.
No, she hasn't. She married a prince. I suppose that was about it. But by the way, I'm going off piste a bit here, but I happened to watch a video. I think it was doing the rounds on Instagram. My wife showed it to me this morning. And it was Meghan years ago, presumably when she just got the gig on Suits or something. And do you remember when Craig Ferguson, the Scottish comedian guy, used to do the late night show? Was it on NBC? Anyway, so Meghan's the guest. And so he goes, oh, what's it like being on? Goes, yeah, it's great being on. I love being on Suits. It's great, fantastic. I get on great with a crew. You know, I mean, suddenly her accent seems to have changed since sort of marrying into royalty.
Well, I definitely see that evolution. This character she's trying to be. She's trying to be like every other, like any woman that actually got there through hard work and legitimate, blood, sweat, and tears. She's there because of the man she married, and it was odd. She said that there's nothing taboo about talking about your financial independence or our independence overall, which I thought was a strange comment to make, or our independence overall.
That's really
I mean, talking so much about how it was almost like, so you're the breadwinner, because, I mean, it was an awkward exchange.
If she's the breadwinner, I don't know what bread she's bringing in, but she's not bringing any bread in from as ever. That is for damn sure. It is quite clear that flogging jam for $10 a jar and cookie dough for $14 a jar and wine for $120 for 3 bottles, it's just not working. Hence, she goes to Paris in what looked for all the world a bid to break into the fashion industry, the fashion business. Then she goes to New York with Harry, where apparently this was over the past weekend, where they got these ridiculous Humanitarians of the Year awards from the Project Healthy Minds organisation. And I mean, I saw the pictures, I saw some of the footage, and Harry did look like he was sort of grinning through gritted teeth. And people who saw them in person said that he seemed to be, throughout the past weekend in New York, permanently furious. Something's going on here. A lot of people are saying, what the hell was she doing in Paris? Stories only now beginning to emerge that friends of hers, and indeed Harry, were absolutely gobsmacked shocked that she went to Paris, where she said she would never be able to go because that's where Harry's mother died. Paris for Harry is a no-no. Suddenly she turns up there. Then they go to New York. And by all accounts, Harry seemed to be permanently furious. And then you talk about her talking about independence and all that sort of thing. I'm afraid those marriage rumours are back in town, aren't they? They're back in play.
I mean, do they ever leave when you're in such a toxic relationship? I mean, I know I've said this before, but if you and I were talking about a princess that had been pulled away from her family, and she was no longer on good terms with her sister, and her, relationship with her dad's kind of iffy, and it's all because of a man that, it wasn't in there. I don't want to make it a class thing, but a man that really wasn't from their world and wouldn't understand the responsibility that goes into their jobs as royalty, and that doesn't respect the tradition, we would be saying that's emotional abuse. We would be worried for that princess. Like, Prince Harry is a grown man and makes his own decisions, and I do think that he's not innocent here.
Well, he's a grown man, you know, sort of, you know, ish, overgrown schoolboy, many people would say. He certainly doesn't behave in a very mature fashion for much of the time, it seems to me. But you were saying, sorry, I interrupted.
I think I was just saying that, you know, I think that I don't know how this can be a healthy relationship when you've alienated all of the friends and family around you. And you know, so much about what we've seen from Meghan Markle over the last 2 weeks is her being an active participant in the Prove It game, which is something that she told Jamie Kern-Lima that she no longer participated in. I mean, it's overwhelming how much she's trying to prove to the world right now, how much she's trying to silence her critics. But you know, to quote my friend Maureen Callahan, there's no there there. When you listen to Meghan speak for 20 minutes, she's promised this audience that she's going to give you her strategy to build this brand. You didn't hear me mention any of that because there is no, she just says, so we hope to grow in Q4. You know, she at the very tail end, she gives a dismissive response that does not answer the question. How do you plan to grow in Q4? What are you specifically going to do? Where are you going to advertise? How are you going to determine what products you are really going to take off and what products aren't going to take off? There was no clear explanation of that, perhaps some excuses as to why that's been difficult for her, but no solution. And so I just think that she is so busy trying to stay relevant, and that's never been Prince Harry's priority. Prince Harry couldn't care less. He realizes he just has to get by. Yeah. And I don't think that that's what Meghan Markle wants. Meghan Markle wants more, and she briefly talks about that ambition that she has.
Yeah, she wants to be a billionaire come what may. And Harry, of course, for all his faults, and he's got many, he's not a publicity seeker because members of the royal family, it's all they've ever known. They know that they don't have to chase publicity. They don't particularly want to do it. It just follows them around because they're the British royals. Meghan, meanwhile, it's a full-time occupation, grabbing attention. We were just playing in the background while you were talking, Kinsey, the video or the Instagram post that she made in New York. And it's sort of very inappropriate. This was when she was supposed to be paying tribute to children who have mental health problems, children who've been affected by online harm. And there she is sort of, oh, look at us, look, ha, 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 isn't it fun? Oh, look, here's all my high-heeled shoes, here's my walk-in wardrobe. Oh, look, it's a pizza. She turned that trip into a sort of personal PR jaunt, didn't she? I mean, it's always all about her.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 44-year-old woman trying to be an influencer. And you had a platform where you could be so much more than that. Can you imagine Catherine, the Princess of Wales, going and talking to people who lost their children to suicide because of online bullying, turning around within the next few hours and uploading a video backstage of you cackling? I mean, there are people that are still mourning their dead babies on the other side of that door. And she's posting video backstage of her cackling. Also, while very specifically holding in her hand a lipstick tube that I'm unfamiliar with, which is why I'm leaning towards Meghan beauty products coming soon. But, you know, that whole video, it's just a display of how self-obsessed she is and how their priorities aren't right. And I don't think their priorities match.
And you know, we've read and we've heard that they've got financial problems. I mean, they live a fantastically expensive lifestyle with their huge mansion in Montecito. They mostly fly around in private jets, if not first class. They've got huge security staff to pay for, plus domestic staff, and so on and so forth, plus the staff of Archie Wells. So they have huge outgoings, and the word is not enough is coming in. And the Daily Mail at the weekend said that the word is also, in terms of the income coming in from As Ever, that the numbers are not good. Frankly, who's surprised by that? So Paris, and then the makeup. She's planning, as the Mail also said, are we getting set for Meghan Markle 3, a new version? Has God given...
But you and I know, you and I both know we're on more like 33.
Yeah, 33. Has God given Meghan the grace to pivot yet again, this time into makeup or fashion, do you think?
I mean, again, I know I use this word quite often, but it's relentless. Like, she needs to remember how, do you remember this? Because I bet you were living over here when it happened, how D-list celebrities would get in trouble and they'd go away for a little while and then they'd come back and do Dr. Drew's show.
Yeah,
and Dr.
Right, yeah.
Drew would sit down and do some therapy with them, and he'd talk them through their trauma. So you kind of had an idea as to why they behaved the way they did. But then after that, you know, you saw that vulnerability, you got it a little bit of an explanation. It seemed like they were trying to better themselves. They could turn it around and be a Weight Watchers spokesperson the next day. Meghan needs to go away for a very long time. And but at the same time, will the world ever forgive her for the way she treated Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip towards the end of their lives? I don't believe so. This was such a poor decision on their part to go after the British royal family, knowing that the entire world was in love with Harry's grandmother and had an emotional connection to her. Meghan thought she was more important than the Queen, and there's no way in hell she ever was going to be.
God, no. God, no. Do you think that in terms of her business ventures that seem to be getting ever more desperate, it does seem to me she's leaving As Ever behind and she's going to try something new again. It's always based on her name, Meghan. You know, buy Meghan wine, buy Meghan dried flowers, buy Meghan jam. Maybe soon it'll be buy Meghan dresses, buy Meghan skirts, buy Meghan shirts, buy Meghan lipstick, buy Meghan makeup. I think the problem with all of these products is that word Meghan. You know, you can't develop a successful business based on the name of someone who's unpopular. The only way that a celebrity brand's going to work is if that celebrity is popular. She's not popular, is she?
Yeah, I remember when Victoria Beckham first started doing clothes, I wanted them because they were Victoria Beckham's, and I couldn't afford them, but I really wanted them because I wanted to look like... Yeah.
They are pretty expensive.
I really wanted them, but I couldn't afford them because it was couture. You know, yeah, I think that... But the problem is, when they asked her, and maybe she is this delusional, Kevin. And if so, what drugs are you on? What drugs are you and Harry doing today? Because I'd love a pop, okay? But the host specifically asks her about how she navigates negativity. And she wants to distract from this very legitimate question. And she was like, but there's so much support. There's so much support. I have so many fans. I have a community. And so, like, does that community really? I don't see it.
Does she? You know? Does she?
I mean, you and I will release a podcast episode in 3 hours that has 30,000 streams at least. Okay. Meghan that video has been up on Fortune for 3 hours and it has 3,000 views.
Really?
You know,
that's
so
yeah.
When you look at the analytics, I don't know. She won't tell us how much she's selling with As Ever. I don't know. Now she does go you know, behind the scenes and invest in some other fashion companies. There was the purse company she invested in where we found out that these women in a foreign country were making like 25 to 50 cents an hour to make these $400 luxury handbags that Meghan endorsed. You know, she has a friend, Victoria Jackson, I believe her name is, that does makeup. So I know she invests in some of these types of companies already. Clever Coffee, she invested in them. So maybe she is aware that maybe her name isn't the way to go, and that's why she invests behind the scenes in some of these other businesses. But yeah, I don't know what the solution is, because I'm not going to buy something with Meghan Markle's name on it. In fact, I'll go out of my way not to, because I'm not going to reward somebody that was so hateful towards Queen Elizabeth and Prince William and his wife.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Kinsey. I think that most people's reaction to a Meghan product would be A, they just couldn't care less, therefore why pay over the odds just for her name, or B, they're actively repelled by her name. They're actively put off by the Meghan name. I think that is the big problem with her. She wants to make $1 billion, but she better start trying to come up with a way of making a lot of money that doesn't involve her name, because her name, I think, is toxic. I think it's not commercial. That's why As Ever's gone wrong. That's why with Meghan, with Love Meghan on Netflix hasn't worked out, and so on and so forth. And now,
and that's why the creative director of Balenciaga went out of his way to create distance between himself and Meghan when he told the Cut magazine she invited herself.
Yeah, to Paris. She didn't. She just decided to go. And again, we talked about this the other day, but leave this hanging in the air. I mean, what on earth did she think she was doing in Paris? The only possible conclusion, given that we know, as you said, she went out of her way to invite herself to go, is she saw that she could get some big headlines because it's Meghan in the town where Harry's mother died. That's what that was about. And if that is the truth, you know, Meghan, come on, pull yourself together, that you can't go around doing this. It's not right. It's just not right. Kinsey, how fantastic. It's always great. I love our conversations. Great to talk to you. We'll talk